And I'm Khal. This is Fan Black Wrestling Podcast. You already know youtube.com/Black Wrestling every Thursday, 8:35 p.m. Please subscribe, like, all that. Tell your friend, tell your friend. We got a very, very, very special guest. Host of Bust It Open, Sirius XM Radio. You know him. If you're a wrestling fan and you're in the Bust It Open, you know him. Dave LaGreca, thank you for joining the Black Wrestling Podcast. Really appreciate it.
Khal, fam, it's a pleasure to meet both you guys. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, no doubt. I do, before we get into anything, I do want to shout you out because I know there was you spoke, shouts to Mimi. Mimi said, I talked to Dave. Dave's down. And she mentioned that you had gotten the Black Wrestling, the Twitter, and immediately Dave's like, I'm down. I want to do it. So I appreciate that because we don't always get people that want to have fun with us like this. But I want to get outside of all of that, because before we started, I wanted to bring this topic up. The timeline for, I guess it's been about 5-6 days, has been nothing but MJF. When I look at your timeline, Dave, specifically, and we'll talk about the conversation that's going on right now after last night, but for someone in your position, someone who is the host of a Sirius XM show that Tommy Dreamer, you're talking to legends in the field and talking about the topic every day. What's the Saturday like for you when you get the word MJF no-showed this fan event? Like what are your messages like when that hits the DM?
Oh, I was getting a lot of phone calls and text messages and tweets. But I'm like, one thing I want to make clear, because I say it on Busted Open all the time, but I'll say it here. Like, I'm just a fan. Like, a lot of people look at me like, oh, and no disrespect, like a Dave Meltzer or Sean Ross Sapp or something. I'm not like a journalist. I'm not a writer. I'm just a fan. So I kind of want to I want to take the ride like everybody else. So when I give my perspective on Monday, I kind of want to just be like a fan. All right, what's going on? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want it spoiled. I don't want to hear any kind of inside information. It's funny, though, reading, and I'm sure you guys too, reading everybody's articles and tweets like they know the answer when they really don't know the answer. It was so funny on Saturday and Sunday. Oh, he didn't fly in. They didn't get him an airplane ticket, or he was out there and he flew home.
Right.
And there was so much information that he wasn't there. And then first match, MJF and Wardlow. So, nice. But I love that stuff because that's the magic now of pro wrestling, because since everything now has been kind of exposed and everything has kind of been out there, like, you see wrestlers outside of character on social media, right. And like, especially in the WWE, there's a lot of the magic is gone. So this is kind of like the new magic of pro wrestling. And I think MJF is playing it perfectly, I think.
With a situation like last night, I immediately people were, because he's out there, he cuts this insane promo. He's blending, what we're hearing is going on backstage with what's going on in the ring. And Mike's cut everything. It felt people were early pipe bomb. This is his CM Punk pipe bomb. But am I crazy? Because we're all, I imagine, gentlemen of a certain age. I felt it was more a Brian Pillman thing. It felt more like screaming about the Booker man than, and not saying it didn't feel like a pipe bomb, but Pillman, that's. Yeah. Am I tripping for that, or were you feeling that at all?
I was, because I think even with MJF, like, whether this is, I hate using the terminology, but whether this is a work or whatever. There's always a little bit of truth in everything, right? So I think what he was saying, man, listen, we're all going through this right now.
Right.
I really believe right now, when you look at a lot of corporations and companies and places of employment, that they take advantage of loyalty.
Yes.
they take advantage of people who work from day one. Like, those are the people that I would think maybe generations before were rewarded. And I kind of feel like those types of people get taken advantage of. And I think because I talk about it in my work, I talk about it with my wife, with her job, like new people come in and it's like the new shiny toy, right? New people come in and it's like the people who have been there are kind of like the people that got pushed out or aren't treated with the respect like they deserve.
Facts.
And I think that's true. I think that's true across the board. And I'm not saying that that's true when it comes to MJF, but there probably is a little bit of truth to it. Hey, I've been here since day one, right? And he said it, 3 times? He mentioned WWE.
Yes.
All these former WWE superstars are coming in and, the one thing you want to be a little bit fearful of is how much of the spotlight is going to go on those superstars and how much of the spotlight are going to be on the people that helped grow this company since day one.
How much of what you think is going on is them reacting to him possibly becoming too cool to be a bad guy?
I think now, especially with pro wrestling the way that it is, that's the chance you have to take. I was having that argument with Tommy this morning on Busted Open, and Tommy kept saying to me, yeah, but he's not a true heel. Why? Because he was being cheered. Like, any great heel is not going to be cheered, right? Roddy Piper, when you think of Roddy Piper, 83, 84, he wasn't being cheered. Right. Iron Sheik not being cheered. Like, you look at Ivan Koloff, like you look at all those heels from back 35, 40 years ago, they weren't being cheered. Right. But I think that's the beauty of MJF. I can honestly say, I can't think of many superstars, many wrestlers, if any, that can turn a crowd the way MJF did last night. And not only did he do it last night, he did it 3 months ago in the feud with CM Punk when he went in and everybody was booing him. And then by the time his promo was over, jaws dropped because they were like, wait a second. That's when he talked about being bullied at school and people making fun of him because he was Jewish. Like, he actually got sympathy. So here's a guy 3 minutes ago getting booed, and then 3 minutes later is getting sympathy. Last night, he's got people chanting, shut the F up. And then 2 minutes later, people are on their feet clapping and cheering him. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I can't think of anybody else that I've seen that was able to turn a crowd that quickly. And it wasn't in a match. It wasn't, playing off of somebody else. This was just him in the ring by himself. And he was able to do that. And I think because he's able to garner emotions. Because how many people can relate to what MJF is saying in that ring? Exactly. There's a lot of people that said, you know what? I feel the same way he does, because that's happening in my job right now.
Right. It's actually amazing you mentioned that. And Mav, shouts to Mav, he's not here, but Mav tweeted earlier. He's like, MJF may not be stone cold, but he's about to get that stone cold run. And that's a conversation I keep hearing is, and I don't know if that means that Tony Khan is going to be Mr. McMahon or who that, if there's going to be some type of authority figure, but maybe, now probably feels like the most perfect time. If the story really is going to be the changing relationship between worker and employer, not just in pro wrestling, but if they're trying to mirror that, yeah, now's as good a time as any.
And Cal and Fam, think of it this way. He's talking about former WWE superstars, right? Mm-hmm. But all those superstars they brought in are over and are the most popular wrestlers in the company. CM Punk, gone for 7 years, comes back in August, monster numbers across the board. Bryan Danielson comes in. Some of the best matches that I've seen in the last 12 months have been with Bryan Danielson.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
So, you look at a Ruby Soho, not treated well at all in the WWE, not used the right way. Now she comes in, she's in tournaments, she's in the finals. Like, there's nobody's wrong in this situation. There's not like, I think Tony Khan's not wrong. hey, he's got to do what's best for business. He's bringing in stars that people want to see, blockbuster stars, right? Box office stars. But also the common person can relate to what MJF is saying to the point where we saw the reaction like we got from him last night.
You will say something?
There's a natural kind of transition from that into something with the new champion, because this is the same argument that we heard years ago from CM Punk talking about part-timers coming in. And so I see, and it's one of the best things that AEW does consistently is kind of build stories that chain together and move out over time. And I think there's a lot of nuance here where we see there's so many like branches that they can go, because I also see some possible sort of like, I hope not to say another faction in AEW, but like something they can do where a lot of the old WWE guys kind of get together because they've already been grouped by MJF.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Like, you mentioned CM Punk, and a lot of people are relating it to CM Punk from whatever, 10, 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. I could see it, but look at CM Punk back then. Who is he going up against? John Cena. John Cena was the face of the company. Who is he in a feud with for the championship? The Rock. The Rock's the biggest name in pro wrestling history. Like, think about that. There's again, like, are you going to tell me that you're not going to bring The Rock back? You're going to tell me that John Cena is not the biggest box office draw? But there was some truth to what he was saying too. Like, that's what made it so compelling. But the WWE, I thought, played it the wrong way. Once he won that championship, he took that title, he jumped the barricade. 2 weeks later, he was back on TV.
Yeah. Too quick.
Within a month, he was a babyface.
Yeah.
Like with MJF, and they made it like a babyface, like he's palling around with Triple H, and like it just didn't play the way that fans wanted to see it play out. You're getting a second opportunity with AEW, and the thing, and this is what amazes me, is people hate on Tony Khan, right? You've seen it on social media. People hate on Tony Khan. Tony Khan's awesome. He comes on with us once, sometimes twice a week on Busted Open. Like, I don't understand why people hate on that guy. Why? Because he's a fan? Because he loves pro wrestling? Why does every owner of a company need to be like Vince McMahon, a guy that's like, in the ivory tower up on, in Stamford, Connecticut? I kind of like the fact that, you know what? Tony Khan's going to come on Busted Open and bullshit. Like that he's going to, before a show, go out and interact with the fans. Or, make fantasy matchups that fans want to see and sign people. I like that about Tony Khan. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying one way is right. I'm not hating on WWE and Vince McMahon. That's the way they do it. It's a winning formula for them. Awesome. That's the key. But I kind of like that there's like a guy that's just a fan, that's the owner of a company and does it for the fans. Like, there's no wrong there, MVP said this one time, and I think it sums up this situation perfectly. He loves Dr. Pepper. Doesn't mean he goes on social media and says, I hate Coke. Like, fans think now it's like, I love WWE, so I'm going to hate on AEW, or I love AEW, I'm going to hate on WWE. How about just going on social media and praising AEW or praising WWE?
Right.
What do you care so much about something that somebody's doing? That it's like Met fans. Like, Met fans love hating on the Yankees. Why don't you worry about your own team?
Right.
Don't worry about what the Yankees are doing.
It's like Eagles
Eagles
fans always got to.
Sorry.
It's like Eagles fans always got to mention the Cowboys and that sort of thing. The filthy Eagle fans. I can't.
Let me tell you something, fam. I still have not gotten over the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. Like, I still have trouble sleeping. It's been how many years now that the Eagles, I mean, the Patriots beat everybody, and you can't beat the Eagles? Tom Brady goes for 500 plus yards, and you still can't beat the Eagles? I mean, come on.
Ultimate heel. He's the ultimate heel. He did it on purpose. He threw the game.
I love it. Actually, I do think it's funny. That was another conversation we were having offline that I just the look, because the other thing that was going on over the weekend, were people, and speaking of Tony Khan, the images of Tony at the scrum, and just I think what you're saying is key, and I think what you're saying is one thing that I'm realizing. What's one thing I've been realizing, but putting it to words, the idea that, I know that Vince and WWE they've owned the mountaintop for decades, and I all while knowing that we're in a time where there is a clear competition, someone that's a lot of time has their foot on their throat, especially when it comes to. I heard that the gate for Dynamite was the biggest on TV this year. Like, there's things that they do that it's amazing for a time right now, especially during the pandemic and everything. But remembering that just because Tony Khan may be in the Vince role, that they're not the same person. You know what I mean? They may have a lot of money and they may run companies, but what MJF said it himself, he's like, I think you should be out there in the stands. Like, I think that there's a lot of truth to the fact that Tony did happen to be the guy who was able to live his dream, at an earlier age, because he had the funds to and the ability to make it happen. But that doesn't mean that he's going to be whatever people think a fiery wrestling promoter is going to be. He's more or less like some of you. He's probably, if he wasn't doing this, maybe he'd be on Reddit, maybe he'd be on a Twitter, timeline, trying fantasy booking or whatever. But he just was able to, build this thing, with the help of a bunch of talented people. But
everything else. Like, I'm 50. I'm a 50-year-old man, but at the same time, I can't think. Like, everything was better 35, 40 years ago.
Right.
Because when you have, it's always like that, it's a catchphrase at this point, but like, adapt or die. That's probably as true words, and especially like what's been going on in our world the last few years. Like, you really do have to adapt or you're going to die. Things that were acceptable 35, 40 years ago are not acceptable now, nor should they be.
Right.
Like, right. And I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying that there's what Tony Khan does, him in that media scrum was right, but it's not necessarily wrong either. It's kind of like Jerry Jones. Like, a lot of people frowned on Jerry Jones when he first came on the scene, right? Making deals with Nike and, all these, things with tickets and how he talks, and owners were kind of like, that's not how owners act. Well, but this is how I act. And now more and more owners are more like Jerry Jones than probably not, So I just think with evolution of time, things are going to change. Mm-hmm. Not everything has to change, but you have to understand that things are going to change.
Mm-hmm. And they are happening right now. Yeah. You mentioned some of the best matches from a while coming from Bryan Danielson. I wanted to ask you, because every time I present this to people, they're like, shut up, man. Bryan Danielson's just having a lot of fun. Do you think that we could ever get a chance, realistically, of Bryan Danielson being the AEW World Heavyweight Champion? Like we're in a world where CM Punk is holding the title right now. Do you think that is a possibility?
I think it is. Why not? Like, he was my vote for Wrestler of the Year for 2021. Because you look at, he was in a main event match at WrestleMania, and then he's in an hour-long match in front of 22,000 fans for AEW. Like, that's pretty incredible, I think so. I think right now I love this dynamic with Jon Moxley. I'd love to see where this goes, but man, there's a lot. Things can change.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think a lot of people like forget, hey, 8 months ago, there was no CM Punk in wrestling.
How about that?
What I'm saying? Like, now you're so used to seeing him on TV every week. But there was a time where he wasn't even here. There was a time Bryan Danielson was in a main event match at WrestleMania. So why could he not be a world champion with AEW? I think it's definitely possible.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. At least I got somebody smart on my side. No, I'm just kidding. Thoughts on before I know we only got you for so much longer, but before you get out of here, thoughts on there's a pay-per-view this Sunday. There's a whole Hell in a Cell Sunday. Are you hype for this? At least the Cody match?
Oh, is that Sunday?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's the Monday Night Raw was a go home show for a pay-per-view Sunday, but I think MJF made everybody forget everything.
I almost forgot there was a pay-per-view on Sunday. Thanks for reminding me. I appreciate that. I got to talk about that tomorrow on the show.
He's taking notes as we speak.
Just give us some production credits when you guys.
Shouts out Black Rasslin. Help me remember.
I'll mention you guys tomorrow with Mark.
Yeah. Salute to you, man. So tell Mark you said what's up.
Really quick. Before you get into the pay-per-view question, I listen quite often, and when you're on there with Bully Ray, right, and he has a theory about what he's seen the night before, he always asks you, like he gives you a quiz question, and there is a right answer, but you never know. And I always feel bad for you because now he done put the pressure on you to answer correctly.
Yes. He does that on purpose. It bothers the hell out of me. But I know exactly what you're talking about. He poses the question. It's like, well, wait, because I think he wants to know my answer so that he'll go the opposite way when I answer it. That's what I'm thinking it must be.
Damn wise guy. We see what you're doing over there, bro. We see you.
Thank you. At least somebody recognizes that.
No, of course. Hey, no, hell, I'm glad you recognize us, Dave. I really appreciate that. How the chat seems to love the conversation we just had. But
come on, Mimi. I saw Mimi in Baltimore, and I was like, wow, Mimi, like, because she was following me on Twitter and she stopped following me. And I was like, whoa, why did you stop following me? And she's like, I didn't stop following. I said, yes, you did. I still follow you and you don't follow me. Because I must have said at some point, I don't even remember when, something negative about Roman Reigns.
Sounds about right.
And she unfollowed me and I don't even know when that could have been.
That sounds about right.
Roman and what he's doing right now. So I find it very convenient in the fact that Mimi's not on the show today. And I'm on, so I better check my Twitter to see if she's still following me.
Right. At the very least, next time we can get you on, we'll have to make sure main event Mimi versus Dave in a no holds barred debate about the tribal chief. I can understand that. We could do it. We'll book it. Damn, this was Dave.
No other questions?
I do have a very, very serious question.
Okay.
When you are off the radio and you do not have anything to do the next day, what is your daddy soda of choice?
All right. So I do enjoy a Broken Skull IPA from time to time. I also really like this Dark Trooper Iron Maiden beer. It's pretty good.
I've seen that.
Right? And if I'm a little in a funky mood, I get some Combat Spandex. It's a little fruity.
That's amazing.
What an amazing can. That's awesome.
And it's got this really kind of fruity taste to it.
I need that.
It's wrestling themed, but
Combat Spandex is a little fruity is the name of the episode.
And when I say fruity, it's got a fruity taste to it. It's got this citrus, grapefruit taste to it. Right?
I am legitimately going to go look for that.
And then, I like in the summertime, I like a Land Shark. Land Shark Daddy Soda is really good. I like Land Shark. But my old standby, and your guys are going to probably kill me on this, is Bud Light. I'm a big mark for Bud Light.
You like to go to the bathroom.
You know what? Well, it's not Coors Light. I'd say Coors Light.
Coors is water.
Coors Light. Yeah. Coors Light is like drinking just water.
Yes.
But I do like a good Bud Light.
Hey. Yeah. As long as you enjoy it in peace, Dave. I appreciate you for coming through again. I know you got to get out of here. I know the chat is thankful for you to come through this conversation.
Yeah, man, you got to have me on again.
I was gonna say, we got it. Something Roman Reigns related. We need to have Dave and Mimi.
When's the next time Mimi's off?
Honestly, it may be a couple. We'll figure it out. Dave.
I love her. She's awesome.
No doubt.
You guys are great.
Thank you, man.
Shout out tomorrow, but you won't be listening. You don't listen. I will give you a shout out tomorrow.
Fam definitely listens, and he will let me know, and then I will make sure that I go.
Listening?
You know what? I don't have XM radio. I'm working from home. I've never really had a reason to have anything on the ride. So
now we're also available on podcast too.
Oh, are you? Well, I will make sure I find that link, drop it in the description with this video so people know they can find Busted Open on SiriusXM as well as wherever they get their podcast. Right?
I mean, yeah, but you don't listen to the podcast. Like, I don't get it.
Dave, if it's not me re-listening to the Black Rasslin podcast, I may not listen to it. I'm sorry.
I get it. All right.
No disrespect. No, just there's too much pro wrestling. This is a busy man. No, but Dave,
there's a lot of wrestling. There's a lot of wrestling to watch.
Again, you didn't even remember there was a pay-per-view Sunday.
I didn't. I'm glad that you reminded me because I would have been drinking a Bud Light on Sunday night. I would have been, oh my God. No, but I am totally. I cannot wait for Cody and Seth.
That's going
to be great.
They're doing good work. Cody. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, I was reading something like, oh, is the biggest thing that you've seen in the WWE Cody coming over lately? Yeah, it is. But you know what? It's also the biggest thing going on right now over there. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I can't help it.
I love it.
Dave, thank you again.
Thank you, fam.
Appreciate you. We're going to get you out of here. But again, anybody check Dave LaGreca on Twitters, on Busted Open, anywhere you get your podcast, SiriusXM, all of that. Dave, don't be a stranger. We'll get you back on the pod soon. You don't have to, I think you're home, so just stay home. But you got to get out of here. We'll catch you next time.
All right, see you later.
Peace.
Bye.
Damn, what a time. Like,
that was a great conversation, man.
I shouts to Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we normally get that AEW talk on here, but I don't think people. It's probably some of the nicest, most on the level conversation we've had here. Peace out, Dave. We figured it out. He could have figured it out, so we figured it out.
I'm gonna be honest.
We
do this. Full disclosure, we do this through StreamYard, and sometimes StreamYard is the most confusing thing to get out of because you're like, is there an exit button?
Where's the button? No, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not on the screen anymore.
I have to take to just kicking motherfuckers. Just get the fuck out.